Hello and welcome to Mangator96, and today we are going to talk about One Piece. Today's topic will be the two brothers that have been born as gods after their father's naive decision where they have fallen from grace and went through hell and back. Those two brothers ended up as polar opposites in their personalities, beliefs and use of the world. While one of them tries to reason that the reason his brother behaves the way he does isn't because of what he experienced in his life, but rather that he was born evil from the beginning, which is fair enough. But then this reasoning also applies to the other brother as well, who was born a saint from the beginning. Because of what they went through together, you can't honestly say that those events wouldn't change a person's personality dramatically, unless they had the personality of a saint. Either way, Doffy and Rosinante are pretty interesting as they are essentially two sides of the same coin, with one being the maddening darkness and the other one being the light of salvation. In this video I will take a closer look on the personality of those two brothers to try and find the reason as to why they turned out so different. Was it really because of how they were born that predetermined their personalities beforehand, or maybe something else? Now let's start with the smiling pink flamingo himself. Doflamingo is an incredibly arrogant, prideful and carefree person. He seems to have a penchant for dramatic phrasing as well as a habit of exaggerating posing when giving declarations. He fears very few people as he openly taunted Fleet Admiral Sengoku, sits on the table during the Warlord meeting and shows only gleeful interest at the thought of warring with the Whitebeard pirates. He does however dislike it when people take rumors seriously and speaks them as facts, and does not cave in into such prejudice from such false rumors, as seen when he grew irritated when Jola stated the incorrect belief that Amber Light syndrome was contagious. Prior to the time skip, Doflamingo has a complete and utter lack of fear and doubt, going as far as to rob the world nobles of their tributes, so he could blackmail the government. He is rarely seen with any expression other than amusement by any turn of events regardlessly of whom they affect. Only on rare occasions does he let go of his trademark smile, such as throwing in annoyance at being summoned to marry Joe. However, those moments were short-lived as Doflamingo would usually just grin again. The only genuine fear he showed then was reliving his childhood memories, which includes being attacked by a mob at the age of 8 because of their hatred of the celestial dragons. Doflamingo learned pain and hunger for the first time in his life, and such events have left him suffering from PTSD even up to age 25, causing him to have nightmares of the torture and waking up in fear and drenched in sweat. To cope with it, he drank copious amounts of alcohol. He is also shown to be deeply afraid of Kaido, since he was aware that the Emperor would kill him if he could not provide more smiles for his army of Zoan users. Doflamingo seems to live by a might is right philosophy, believing that the strong are the ones who make the rules and will be the only one capable of living in the new age. Due to his beliefs in this new age, Doflamingo seems to lose interest in other things easily, as seen with his leadership of the Bellamy pirates and the ownership of the human auction house. He also threatened to quit the 7 warlords of the sea if the orders given by the world government are not satisfactory to his liking, or if they annoy him, and that he never really cared about the world government from the beginning. Though a firm belief of the new age philosophy, Doflamingo, unlike his former subordinate Bellamy himself, seems to have an open opinion on dreams, though dreams themselves do not seem to interest him at all. Despite his belief, he does not seem to oppose becoming the Pirate King. Doflamingo also possesses an extremely bloodthirsty mentality, as he brutally punished a gladiator for not shedding any blood for the spectators of his Colosseum fights and casually licked some of the blood from his gladiator victims of his own face. He also believes in the existence of an inherent cruelty in all human beings regardlessly of personality that is brought by the excitement of seeing blood and death. He would go as far as to commit patricide at the age of 10. Patricide is a fancy word to describe someone who killed his or her father, and fratricide at the age of 28, the same as patricide, the only difference being that it is your brother and not your father that you're killing. Both incidents stemming from his contempt for his victims' actions. Doflamingo also has this habit of licking his lips at the action of causing bloodshed, or an upcoming chaotic event, the latter which he was eager once Whitebeard started his rampage at Marineford, and the former when he shot Law at the Colosseum. Despite his apathy for the weak, he often seems to make alliances with promising rookies. He adopted Trafalgar Law, Buffalo and Baby 5 into his crew, and apparently did it very early on their journeys, and treated Law and Baby 5 as though they were his younger siblings. It is extremely difficult to join his crew, as most people, especially children, were chased off. However, he does have an extremely strong sense of loyalty, duty, camaraderie and compassion to the subordinates who had been with him for a long time, as he expressed remorse when he had to discard Monet and Virgo, felt disappointment when Law betrayed him, and went out of his way to destroy 8 towns simply to protect Baby 5 from her personality's flaws. This is also displayed by his anger when Trafalgar Law took his subordinate Jola hostage. He is also much more lenient towards his crewmates' failures. Despite his loyalty, compassion, duty, camaraderie and devotion to his crew, he still can be annoyed by their antics, such as Treble being too close while chatting with him, as evidenced by his irritated frown. He cares enough for the officers of his crew that he protected Treble from Law without a moment of hesitation. Though his care for his new family seems genuine, he will not hesitate in sacrificing any of them when he sees it necessary, as he intended to force Rosinante to sacrifice his life to perform the youth operation for Doflamingo's immortality, a plan that he switched to Law when realizing that Law ate the Opi no Mi, intending to educate the boy into seeing the importance to die for him. Law speculates that Doflamingo's care for his crew is really nothing but an act whenever it's convenient for him. Born and raised in the comfort of Mary Jo, an 8-year-old Doflamingo was as oblivious of the outside world as the rest of his former comrades, was infuriated that commoners did not bow to him, unaware of their hatred for the world noble's abuse of their diplomatic immunity, and did not understand what genuine suffering was, as he suffered hunger, pain and persecution, where Doflamingo's knowledge matured, allowing him to understand what true suffering humanity goes through firsthand. Doflamingo in no way sympathizes with the commoners' anguish, nor felt any regret for them, and instead swore vengeance against all of them for daring to bring pain onto him, all the while his sadistic nature would make even more people suffer for many years to come. He continued to have anyone who offended him in even the slightest manner utterly destroyed, and once burned down an entire town just for having shoddy pavement. He ran a slave shop and forced Dressrosa's civilians and dwarves into slavery as an insult to how many slaves suffered at the hands of celestial dragons, and even mocked the commoners' sufferings in revenge. Using the fact that one boy was killed by 16 shots from a celestial dragon to be the homage of his attack against Luffy, while referring to the 16 strike bullets as holy ammunition. Instead of accepting how the world nobles caused much suffering to humanity, Doflamingo cursed his father and brother for allowing their kindness to bring them down to the mortal world, and that they deserved to die so they could redeem themselves in his eyes. Due to his mature outlook of life in the commoner's world, Doflamingo became very observant of the environment people grew up in, as he officially adopted law for seeing the boys suffering from the tragedy of the White City, while disliking prejudice based on inaccurate rumors, and later rescued the sisters Monette and Sugar from the extremely unfortunate environment they grew up in. In contrast, he saw the Bellamy pirates as little more than rowdy ruffians unworthy of his positive attention, as he showed little to no respect for them. Moving on to Rosinante. When Trafalgar Law first met Rosinante, Rosinante was noted for hating kids, especially Baby Fife, and Buffalo played practical jokes on him, such as making him sleep upon passing through the doorway, or giving him scalding tea that burned his tongue, resulting in his abusive behavior towards them. In fact, the first thing that Rosinante did to Law was to grab him and throw him out of the window. This was actually part of an act where, as it was his duty as a marine to dissuade children from joining the crew, which he failed with Baby Fife, Buffalo, Dellinger and Law. Despite his outward behavior of a violent man who dislikes children, he genuinely inherited his father's kindness, something Doflamingo himself admits, believing that his elder brother is a monster born evil and only acted cruel to children in the hopes of driving them away from following Doflamingo. He cared deeply for his birth family as he wept for his mother's death and cried when his brother was shot with an arrow. From his kindness he did not possess any manners of a typical celestial dragon and saw it his duty to stop his brother's madness, a sense of justice that led him to join the Marines as an undercover spy. Because of this, Rosinante was shown to be forgiving since he did not hold any grudge against Law for stabbing him in the back and even kept quiet about his transgression. When Law revealed his true name, he showed genuine concern and worry, even warning him about the danger that he was in. He was capable of compassion as he went as far as to go out of his way with both his brother and the Marines to take Law throughout the North Blue to find a doctor to cure the boy's disease, and flew into violent rages whenever the doctors caved into prejudice due to the incorrect belief that Law was a walking contagious disease who should not have survived the extermination of Lavance. In spite of his extreme methods, due to his empathy and courage, he appears to follow his own idols instead of adhering to the Marines' doctrine of absolute justice. He was believed to be incapable of speech due to a prior accident and, according to Diamante, was unintelligent and cannot concentrate, where this was merely a facade and he was fully capable of speaking as well as being perfectly intelligent, as seen by his playing on how the other perceived him. Upon hearing Law's full name, knowing the importance of the initial D, he was forced to break his silence, showing more perception than what his comrades believed. Although his mutism and dislike for children were mere acts to hide his true self, the one attribute that was genuine was his clumsiness, easily falling for Baby Fife and Buffalo's pranks and constantly tripping himself. He was also seen smoking, though due to his clumsiness, he accidentally set his own coat aflame every time he tried to light a cigarette. Rosinante did love his parents very much, referring to them as kind, and was rather shocked that his elder brother would come from such generous people. He was desperate to find food to save his mother from her ailing health due to the deplorable household, and wept at her bed when she died from illness. Unlike Doflamingo, Rosinante did not blame their mother's death onto his father, and he cried when Doflamingo shot homing in the back of the head, desperately attempting to dissuade his brother from doing so. To conclude, it does seem that both of them were born evil and good, and that their life experience only served the purpose to amplify those personalities further without any hope of change. With this, I covered everything that I wanted to cover on Dofi and Rosinante. And that will be all for this video. If you like this video, leave a like, leave your thoughts in the comments below, or subscribe to the channel for more One Piece content, as well as other manga content, and we'll see you next time. Take care.